Welcome to the fourth and final presentation I'm doing on department store camera lenses. We've looked at the offerings of camera lenses from Montgomery Ward's, Kmart, JCPenney's, and now we're going to look at the department store that offered the most extensive line of camera equipment and lenses, and that is Sears. Sears was committed to the camera market from way back to the turn of the 20th century. In 1908, they purchased a camera company, Conley Camera Company, and Conley manufactured cameras exclusively for Sears. Their sales grew, and in the 20s, Sears purchased other camera companies. And as interest in amateur photography grew, Sears grew with it by selling more and more camera equipment. Sears had partnerships with numerous manufacturers, and it would be impossible, or it would just be too much to go over all of them. So we're going to look at the partnerships they had with 3 manufacturers. We're going to look at lenses they offered from a manufacturer named Mamiya Secor. We're going to look at a lens that was offered with a partnership they had with Ricoh. And then finally, one of their later partnerships from the 1970s on, we're going to look at lenses that were offered by Sears that were manufactured by the Korean manufacturer Samyang. Now, before I start, I need to do a small disclaimer here. There are people who are Sears photography aficionados, collectors, enthusiasts, and these people have probably forgotten more than I ever knew about the Sears camera and photography offering. Those people aren't going to learn anything new in this presentation, and they'll probably take issue with some of the assumptions I've made on the product offering from Sears. Now, Sears was a retail icon. They started out as a mail order house in the late 1800s. They opened their first retail location in Chicago, and they sold everything from jewelry to automobiles to sporting equipment. You could even buy a kit house out of the Sears catalog, all the way up to the 1940s. And that seems crazy in today's world. Now, they grew through the 20th century, and by the 1980s, Sears was the largest retailer in the United States. And in their heyday, Sears sold a tremendous amount of photography equipment. And similar to other department stores, they teamed up with high-quality manufacturers. They rebranded products made by those manufacturers under the Sears name, and they sold a tremendous amount of photography equipment. So stay tuned. We're going to take a look at a few of the lenses offered by Sears and see how they perform. The first partnership we're going to look at is Sears and Mamiya Secor. Now, the history of Mamiya dates back to the 1940s. They were well known for producing high-quality, medium-format cameras, but they were a diverse manufacturer that produced a wide array of products, including sporting equipment and electronics. They made 35mm cameras and lenses also. And Sears began marketing Mamiya products in the late 1950s, and they were rebranding their cameras, Mamiya cameras, using the Sears Tower name. Now, I think Sears maybe thought they could develop some brand equity using the Tower name. They'd done this with other product lines. If you think of Kenmore appliances, washers and dryers, Craftsman tools, Die-Hard batteries. But the Tower name was really short-lived in the overall scope of things. And Sears went to branding all of their photography equipment and products just under the Sears name by the mid-60s. Sears also marketed 35mm SLRs that appear to be rebranded Mamiya cameras. Now the lens we're going to look at more closely today is the Sears 55mm f1.4. And this is really a legendary lens, but there is some debate and confusion as to whether or not Mamiya actually manufactured this lens for Sears. Sears had partnerships with many optical manufacturers, and this lens could have been manufactured by Mamiya, Ricoh, Cosina, or possibly even Tomioka. Whoever made this lens for Sears, it's a well-built lens, and it's a beautiful lens. It's got a fast 1.4 aperture, and all of the versions I've run across have a traditional M42 mount, which is nice as it's easily and inexpensively adaptable to mirrorless and DSLR applications. What we're going to do is take a few photos with this Sears 55-1.4, see how it performs. I'm going to show you the pictures we took. You can find these lenses on eBay, secondhand stores, thrift stores, estate sales. There are a lot of them available because Sears sold so much photography equipment, and this was one of their more popular items. So we're going to take a look at this impressive piece of glass and let you see the pictures, and we'll be back. Starting in the 1960s, Sears began selling more products produced by Ricoh. And Ricoh's history goes way back to the early 1930s. And Ricoh was well ahead of other Japanese photography manufacturers when it came to production. Prior to Ricoh, camera making was more of a cottage industry, sort of a handicraft industry. Ricoh turned this into a mass production venture. And they made a wide array of cameras, including SLRs, point and shoots, rangefinders, viewfinders, fixed lens cameras. They also made office equipment. Ricoh may have manufactured the first copy machine in the 1950s. By the mid-1960s, Ricoh was surpassing Mamiya as Sears' largest photography equipment supplier. And Ricoh began selling rebranded Singlex TLS 35mm SLRs to Sears, and they were sold under the TLS name. Coincidentally, Ricoh also sold this identical camera to Kmart, and Kmart marketed it under the Focal brand using the TLX name. Now, in the 1970s, Ricoh introduced their KR line of SLRs, and Sears was quick to market these under their KS name. You'll see KSX, KS2, and Sears just sold this KS line, which is a straightforward 35mm SLR that was manufactured by Ricoh. They're identical. But it did represent a major innovation because Ricoh used the Pentax K-mount for these cameras. And Sears rebranded Ricoh lenses under their name and sold a wide variety of these lenses with the Pentax K-mount. Additionally, they sold a lot of Ricoh manufactured M42 lenses. We're going to show you a couple of photos that I've taken using a Sears 50mm f2. This is a standard lens. It's a lens they coupled with lots of the KS cameras they sold. And there are a lot of them out there, and they're very reasonably priced. You can get them for under $25. All the usual places, eBay, thrift stores, secondhand stores, estate sales. And they are great for adapting to mirrorless applications. And because every one of them I've seen has a Pentax K-mount, they work well with Pentax DSLRs because Pentax has not fundamentally changed their K-mount since its inception in the 1970s. So we're going to take a couple of pictures. let you see what it does, and we'll be back. Samyang is a Korean optics manufacturer that began making lenses for cameras in 1972. Now, my view is that they wanted to gain market share in the United States and began selling lenses to department stores and third-party marketers that rebranded their lenses. You'll see Samyang lenses marketed under the Rokinon, the Phoenix, the Albanar, the ProMaster brands, as well as the Sears brand. And while Samyang manufactured a wide array of lenses, the three I encounter most often with the Sears brand are the 28mm f2.8, the 135 f2.8, and the 80-200 f4. And Sears marketed these lenses with all the popular mounts of the day. You can get the Nikon F, the Minolta MD, the Olympus OM, Pentax K, Canon FD. So all the popular mounts of the day were available from Sears with these rebranded Samyang lenses. Now I find the 28mm and the 135mm lenses easy to use because they have a macro feature and they are handy for close focusing. It's not a true macro feature, but it allows you to focus on subjects that are within close proximity. You can get pretty close to them. Again, it's not a true macro feature. I'd prefer if they had just called it a close focusing lens. Now, it's easy to identify these lenses when you're looking at Sears lenses because I think Samyang was the only lens that Sears sold that was manufactured in Korea, and all of the lenses they sold say made in Korea on them, so they're easy to spot. Now, these lenses are reasonably priced. You can get them for under $20 usually at all the usual places, and I think they represent a good buy for the money. Here are some photos that I took using the 28mm f2.8 and the 135 f2.8, and I think you'll agree with me that for under $20, they're a pretty good lens. Stay tuned, we'll be back. Now, Sears sales started to decline in the 1990s, and they began closing locations and divesting of some of their non-profitable portions of their business. They discontinued their catalog in 1993. Things just continued to decline, and to generate cash, Sears sold some of the iconic brands it had developed, including Kenmore and Craftsman. And in 2018, Sears filed for bankruptcy, and now today there's only a handful of Sears stores left, and for all practical purposes the company is gone. In its heyday, Sears sold a tremendous amount of photography equipment. We've been able to look at 3 of the manufacturers that they teamed up with, and of the 4 department stores we've looked at, Sears had the largest share of the photography market, and they sold high quality and innovative photography products. Whether it was their demise was caused by mismanagement or changing market conditions, whatever the reason they're no longer around, I miss Sears, and I think it's a shame that they're gone. Thanks for watching.